going on, everybody? Back on the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Football Show, a proud member of Fantasy Points and the Fantasy Points Media Group. Now, just a reminder that if you use code 211010, you'll get 10% off all the great tools over at fantasypoints.com. And they have a special going on, 50% off the rest of the season. So you get a whopping 60% off, which anything 60% off, you know I'm there. So make sure you check that out. Normal crew here, D. Mendy, joined as always by Johnny Foosball, John Van Etten. John, as you keep laughing at me, I got to ask you, is it Marcus Mariota?
It's a couple things. You're going a little bit in and out, and I really thought there was going to be a punchline after that 60% joke, but you just moved past it. No punchline.
I under-delivered, yes. Eric Mendelson, what's going on?
You know me pretty well. Yeah, and it's like, I'm going to do a live bet today.
That's right. I mean, it's like we're brothers or something. It's pretty weird. And, of course, rounding out the normal crew is the man that ponders life's biggest questions. It's the Brad Stradamus. Brad Kilwer, what's up?
My biggest question is, are the Washington football team for real? And it's looking like maybe.
Yeah, man, we're going to talk about a little bit of the Washington football team in the show. Shout out to our buddy Toby checking in here. But everybody's been waiting long enough. They see the guy right below me, and I got to intro him the right way. We welcome in a man that I recommend you don't make a bet with because you'll have to change your profile picture. A SiriusXM fantasy football host where he does analysis, football analytics, real scouting, and he breaks down the why of football decisions. But then he also has an alter ego. That's an assistant DPP at the University of Minnesota, the COO of the 33rd team, does NFL scouting and analytics, data-driven insights mixed with game knowledge to win fantasy. His resume is like a novel, and I'm here for all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, the man with the game plan and the man that bleeds gold for his Golden Gophers, it is Andy Hansen. What's going on, man?
How's it going, guys? I feel like I have a little stalker. I didn't realize you knew that much about me, David. I'm impressed that you're still in breath after getting all of that out. I did not ask for that, everybody. I'm usually just a guy who absolutely scorches David before we do game picks on Sundays.
Yeah, I'm not making any of these bets with you anymore because both times I'm 0 for 2. And
Andy, after hearing that beautiful intro, I gotta ask, like, what is your go-to tool or go-to stat when you're looking at scouting running backs? Is it all film or is it a combination of film and statistics? How do you go about that?
I think it depends on what data you can get your hands on. I think the 3-yard split is really important for getting up to speed. We at the 33rd team had a data scientist come on, and it's an interesting story. He spent 3 seasons with Mike Tannenbaum, first with Dan Quinn at the Falcons, the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and then the next 2 years at the Dolphins. And in that 3-year span, the Falcons and Dolphins combined led the league in sacks for those 3 seasons. And his entire premise was the 3-yard split, the 5-yard split, and the 7-yard split. And being able to get your speed up to a certain level where the impact and force that you generate into the person in front of you is what matters most in any aspect of collision football. So I think, I guess if it was in regular, like you're watching the NFL draft casually, I think they call it quickness. And I think that's really where it is, because if you can get up to your top speed fast, if you can go from gear 2 to gear 5 quickly, and at the drop of a hat when you decide to make the cut and go, a safety or even a linebacker isn't going to be able to tackle you if you're going full speed and have your weight behind you in that direction. When it comes to fantasy, it's a little bit more difficult because you can have fucking Walter Payton behind the worst offensive line in the NFL, and it's not going to matter. The guy's going to rush for 17 yards, and you're going to cry because you drafted him in the first round.
So I'd imagine, like, in terms of basic stats, that term would most likely correlate with something like broken tackles.
Yeah, broken tackles are important. I think if you can go back and watch the NFL Combine, if you can do weight and then the 10-yard split, that's where you're going to find a lot of diamonds in the rough when it comes to like possible fantasy running backs.
Yeah. Again, that's why you hear Andy talking, and we brought that big old brain on this show for a reason, because there's a lot we got to talk about here as we have our Week 13 short stories, our stuff or fluff, rest of season bold predictions, and our obscure tight end touchdown of the week predictions. So make sure you stay tuned for all that. After, we'll go to our question of the week, which John has not told me, so it will be a surprise. And also his game of the week, which if you're an avid listener of the show, you know when it's John's turn for the game. It's the same thing every time, but it's always something I never win. So we'll find out if today is the day. But first, if you're enjoying the content of Triple Play Fantasy and want to hear more of what we got, please check out all the great things going on the Triple Play Fantasy Network. We've got baseball, basketball, and football podcasts, globs of content over on the Triple Play YouTube channel, like Devi mock drafts, Javonte Williams being a league winner. Heck, we even have some chess content for you. So if you want to check all that out, it's over there. And if writing is your style, check it out over at tripplayfantasy.com. Now, fellas, life gets better when you pretend every day is your birthday. You get free desserts when you go out to a restaurant. People start buying you stuff, obviously, and then you get to make that social media post that you know is going to get a lot of love. And heck, I mean, even though my birthday is just over 10 months away, why don't we just pretend today is my birthday? And we're going to have a little bit of fun. So you know what I'd like for my birthday? I'd like for you to go to the YouTube channel and check our subscriber count, as we are now at 1.31K. And if you are watching our videos and are not subscribed, please give me my birthday present and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. It truly helps a ton. We're on the road to 2K, and every subscription counts. So smash it. All right, let's get into the episode here. Let's dive in. Let's get into some headlines. And we're going to start off here with the Washington football team, Brad's Washington football team, as Logan Thomas, who was thought to have suffered a torn ACL and MCL and other knee damage, turns out it might not be as bad after all, as the MRI results came back better than anticipated, according to head coach Ron Rivera. So right now, it's not looking great, but Logan Thomas could come back this year. And right now, he started in 6 of 12 games this season. He's caught 18 passes for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns. And my question to you guys, and Andy, I'm going to start with you first. Should you pick up RSJ or even a John Bates down the stretch, as Washington tight ends had the most favorable schedule for the rest of season? Are they someone you're looking to pick up?
I would say only if you're truly desperate. I don't know if you guys are Marvel fans, but you know when Thor comes to Loki and Loki looks at him in the jail cell and is like, "You must be truly desperate to come to me for help." I don't think that this guy is going to give you, and I'm talking about Ricky Seals-Jones, I don't think he is going to give you elite production. I don't even know if he's going to give you 10-point games because Logan Thomas is an elite player. And that's why he is so good to have on your fantasy team, because he's a player that gets put into the offensive game plan. Whereas Ricky Seals-Jones is an adequate player. He's going to be on the field, and if he's open, he might get the ball thrown to him. But Heineke isn't exactly that great at throwing to his tight ends anyway. So he's going to need to have a boom or bust game for you to actually profit off of getting him. So I would only take him if I don't have a top 12 tight end already. But that would mean that somebody else in your league has, Goddard and Ertz on their team, or somebody has Gronk and Kittle on their team, and you just need the tight end help.
So you're not interested in the John Bates motel at all?
No. At that point, you're not in the playoffs anyway, so whatever.
Fair enough. Brad, I'll go to you also for this question, since you're the Washington fan on this panel. Do you like either of these guys down the stretch?
I don't really. Seals-Jones has shown that he has the ability to, have those double-digit games, but I don't know that I can count on Taylor Heineke to produce them at a level that I'd feel comfortable going to get him or spending any sort of, fab on Seals-Jones. His running ability makes the ceiling a little bit lower on the passing side, and I think they really want to hand it off to Gibson, as he's been kind of their workhorse lately. So I don't know. I think there are better options at the tight end level, and if you have to go get a Seals-Jones, you're probably in bad shape already. So I definitely wouldn't spend any sort of capital to go and get him.
Yeah, these guys might be more better DFS plays. Just for reference here, Jimmy Graham had 1 catch for 1 yard and a touchdown, and he was tight end 8 this week. So it just shows you how much of a crap.
Could have been Cole Kmet, Eric.
It could have been. It could have been. This is
foreshadowing one of our later segments.
But I will say, if there's any receiver that Heineke is looking to, more than likely it's the tight end as opposed to, a wide out, which is strange considering he has Terry McLaurin and, Curtis Samuel's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. But it appears that those dump offs to J.D. McKissick and Gibson and the tight end are kind of where Heineke likes to live.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the target distribution as we get to this next one just to see kind of how it's right now being distributed this year. But, John, I'm going to you for this next one because it's about your Raiders, as Kenyon Drake suffered an ankle fracture on Sunday. He's done for the year, and he'll end the year on 254 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, had a 4.3 yards per carry average. I love that yards per carry stat. He also had 29 catches this year. I'm very interested right now because Jalen Richard right now apparently got put on the COVID-19 list.
Richard.
Yeah, I got to have the accent. Richard. So right now, the only 2 backs on this team that are healthy are Jacobs and Peyton Barber. Do you think Jacobs gets a realistic bump, or do you think the Raiders find someone to take Drake's work here?
Maybe a slight bump, but actually more so based on like the past few games, he's been getting more targets and more catches, mainly because the offense is really sputtering because the drop in weapons. It went from having a ton of explosive players to Darren Waller being out and the whole Ruggs situation being cut from the team. So they went from a lot of deep threats to a lot of dump offs to the running backs, which Jacobs has been seeing over the past 3 games.
Wow, way to discredit Zay Jones's presence on the offense.
My man got hit in the face mask and with the ball at the Hail Mary at the end of the game, and it could have been a pass interference. His jersey was being tugged, but it hit him in the face.
John, I almost bet a Zay Jones first touchdown for you because if it did hit, that was going to be my short story.
Well, there you go. Just real quick
I
on
was
the
disappointed in
Washington.
Foster Moreau that game.
Yeah, apparently that one catch, I didn't watch the game, but they said he had one defender to beat, and it would have been like a 50-yard touchdown if he was able to get 3 for that last guy. But the Washington stat, McLaurin has a over 26% target share. If you combine Ricky Seals-Jones, Logan Thomas, and the John Bates Motel, you get about a 21% target share between the 3 of them. So that's obviously the tight end is definitely where he's looking to if it's not Terry McLaurin. So that's obviously a big factor with looking at Taylor Heineke where he likes to throw the ball.
And then the dump offs to McKissick's and the Gibsons.
McKissick does have a 14% target share, and Gibson has just under a 9% target share, but he has 13 targets over the last 2 weeks, does Antonio Gibson. So he's definitely getting a lot more involved. And Antonio does lead the NFC in rushing, which is pretty crazy considering all the injuries he's had.
And Andy gave Gibson some love. Is that what I'm saying there?
I was able to finesse Gibson off of my friend in my big money league for Michael Carter, and I'm pretty sure that he's not going to be my friend if I ride Gibson to the championship.
Nobody loves injuries.
No, I mean he kind of looked left for dead with that shin injury, but the bye week seemed to have healed him, which is very interesting. John, by the way,
is that a dynasty league, Andy?
No, that it's a big money redraft league, and it's my favorite league because everybody's incredibly deep into fantasy. So it's a difficult league to play, and it's a difficult league to win. I also traded Dalvin Cook for Jonathan Taylor and Miles Sanders in that league. So right now I have 5 running backs that can all start, but no wide receivers.
The running back whisperer.
Well, Andy, you're lucky I'm not in that league because I'd have to take you down. Otherwise,
you'd be
I don't know where my invite was.
AJ Dillon, and I would not be worried. You'd have 4 wins right now.
Oh, well, it sounds like I need to get in that league next year because I got to prove it. If there's a spot that opens up, Andy, you have my phone number.
We'll have you if you are in, if you're ready to be reborn.
I'm ready.
David, you're getting ready to change your Twitter picture again.
No, I'm not making any more Twitter picture bets. That was a long week. All right, let's get a couple more news here. Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is going to call it a career supposedly after the season. Remember, he's outlasted both Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, and his QBR ranked just 24th in the league through 10 starts this year. And even after they beat the Ravens, it's clear he's not the same player. I don't know if you guys knew this. He actually sits 8th all time in touchdown passes and the 6th most passing yards in NFL history. But I guess this is it for Big Ben.
It's a passing league.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. And Adrian Peterson is back. He scored a touchdown in his first game with Seattle. He have 11 carries for 16 yards or something like that in a touchdown. Not very good. He's played with 6 different teams, but that touchdown ended up being the difference for the Seahawks against Eric's 49ers, Was it just painful to watch that, Eric?
I mean, I told everyone we were going to lose. Like, I don't know why I expected us to even compete.
Is the exact statistic that Pete Carroll is 17-4 against the Niners? Is that what the
I think
is?
he's 13-4.
13-4. I knew it was something.
That's
Yeah, he has
actually
our number.
outrageous.
It is.
Yeah,
It happens when you're a
Considering
sleazy
the
coach.
49ers went to like 2 Super Bowls and he's still 13-4 against them.
pretty bad. And just finishing it up here, Corey Davis's season is over. He's going to have core muscle surgery that's going to shove him the rest of the year. He's going to finish the year with 34 catches, 492 yards, and 4 touchdowns. It's time for the Elijah Moore show. Top 20 wide receiver rest of season, Andy. Do you think that's possible for him?
I think it'll be hard, and it's the same thing that we were talking about with Taylor Heineke, where I don't think Zach Wilson is very good at distributing the ball to his wide receivers. I think that the Jets learned when Mike White came in and they decided to have the short dump-off game be how they were going to lead that offense, and all of a sudden Mike White looked like a Hall of Famer, that they realized that they, behind that offensive line and with the scheme that they have, they need to have short, quick passes and dump-offs. And now that Elijah Moore is going to be the number one wide receiver, probably covered by the number one corner from the other team, I wouldn't trust him to be able to win very many matchups and have Zach Wilson deliver a ball that, you know, will have the big explosive plays you really need to have a top 20 wide receiver.
I mean, he did just go against Darius Slay and the Eagles and have a pretty good game. And Darius Slay is ranked as one of the best quarters according to PFF right now. Did that not give you some hope?
It gave me a little bit of hope. I think, you know, the Eagles aren't a matchup corner to wide receiver team. It's side of the field. So, you know, Darius Slay is great. Any other corner that the Eagles have is trash, and we could probably start over all of them. So I don't want to be the Eagles to be my barometer for how a team should be judged when they're playing against defenses, especially, you know, with some of the other serious defenses that the Jets will be going up with against the rest of the season.
I'll be watching this week. Don't have the statistics how much Marshawn Lattimore shadows players, but you obviously have to expect that he would most likely, unless Elijah Moore just lines up strictly in the slot, which I know he does a fair amount, but the Saints obviously are a pretty good defense, so that's will be a good barometer maybe test this week for Elijah Moore.
Andy, I'm curious. You know, I'm going a little off script here, but we've seen a lot of Deebo Samuel line up at running back and have success. What do you make of that? Does he have the chops of a running back, or is it short of the question mark of what is he going to do, or, you know, where is the target going? Is he a decoy? Is that what's making him have that success? How do you look at that?
I think it's interesting because it's similar to how Cordarrelle Patterson's being used. Deebo Samuel is very good at breaking tackles. And when he lined up at running back when Elijah Mitchell was out, he actually was pretty good, you know, from that position. It certainly didn't look like a wide receiver playing running back. It looked like an athlete playing running back, almost closer to Antonio Gibson. So I think that he's just a player who, if they see a defender matching up against him, would you rather have a corner who's lined up against your running back in the box, or would you rather have a linebacker matched up against your running back in the box? And if you're trying to stop the run, it's obvious that you'd rather have a corner in the box that you can try to get, you know, washed out based off of the blocking or however it ends up working. So it's kind of similar to what the Patriots used to do, where they would move guys around. They would have, you know, they'd put a fullback out wide. They'd put an extra lineman out wide to try to get teams that weren't matching up correctly off kilter. And I think that that's what the 49ers did by putting Deebo in at running back. But he's also the kind of athlete where he can break tackles in the backfield. He can be productive at that spot.
Yeah, and he's looked very good. And even with weeks where he wasn't catching the ball, he was still giving you double-digit fantasy points just with his rushing. So it'd be interesting to see if more teams start taking that approach and just getting the ball in their best players' hands if they're not being able to throw them the ball. So kind of interesting what the Niners are doing with that. But let's put the bookmark in it there. Let's go next to one of our favorite segments on this show, and that is our little short story segment here. If I can find where my little button is, I'll find it later. Anyway, so this is here we go.
Cool story,
David,
bro.
David
Okay.
can never find the.
I get sucked into other things and then
sound bar.
yeah. And so this is our short story. Surprise from week 13, a victory lap. something you want to come clean about. It's your 60 seconds to tell us what you want to talk about. Andy, what was your Week 13 short story?
Well, you can check out my Twitter. I called it the Dallas Cowboys defense was going to be a high scorer in that game compared to the rest of the offensive starters. So I was pretty proud about that one. And then I completely flubbed all of my advice for the Patriots-Bills game because that weather was just outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
3 passes from Mac Jones,
Who
2 receptions for all of their pass catchers. If you started a Patriots skill position, you were just absolutely screwed.
Well, I will just add to that because that's where my short story is. In one of our leagues, or one of the leagues I'm in, I was up 2 points, and the other player had Kendrick Bourne on their team, and I was like, I'm done. And of course, Kendrick Bourne just gets a 2-yard rush, and that's it. And so I won, which I did not think they had a chance. So
wait for the stat corrections, David.
I mean, 2 points, I feel very safe. So the win still was in there this morning, so I'm taking it. And it was a very unexpected win, but a win that I will gladly take to stay into second place in that particular league. Doc, what is your short story?
All right. Well, I made the Scott Fishbowl playoffs, and it's the top 6 make it. And then if you have a certain amount of points, and I cleared that threshold by 5 points because of George Kittle's 45-point outing. So thank you, George Kittle, for having a great game when I needed it most to get me into the Scott Fishbowl, and now I'm going to win it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bold there. There you go.
I got the momentum on my side.
Brad, what about yours?
Again, I got more of a question on this one. In my dynasty league,
you're a questions McGee today.
I am. I'm a questions guy. In my dynasty league, I have Josh Jacobs, and we're 8-8 right now. We could make the playoffs if we won, but we'd have to win a points tiebreaker if everybody else won, and that doesn't look likely. So I'd need one more team to lose, and they have good matchups. So I kind of take a baseball approach with my dynasty football teams, and if I'm going for it, I'm going for it, and if I'm not, I'm just stripping it down and rebuilding for next year. So I'm thinking about trading Josh Jacobs, and I'm curious what you guys would trade for him in dynasty.
I mean, I'm not a Josh Jacobs guy personally. I mean, maybe more people are. I'm probably going to lowball it. It's hard just to I'd have to look at kind of a list of guys I have him in that range, which I don't have in front of me. I don't know if any of you guys, John, especially you, because you're a Raiders fan, how your opinion of Josh Jacobs is.
I'm tilted towards him, but they might not even re-sign his options, so that may be a good thing. A change of scenery to a team where he can be a real goal line back for a team who actually gets to the goal line.
Yeah. I'm going to get this show back on track real quick because I want to get through a couple more things. Johnny, give us your short story real quick.
So, I had Jalen Hurts. He was pretty much my only healthy quarterback until Sunday when he said he was going out, and I kind of forgot that the Dynasty League I'm in only has a waiver period at noon before the Sunday games, and then you're pretty much done and you can't pick anybody up till Wednesday. So I put in a bid for just Gardner Minshew, and I got outbid by the person I was playing because they just put an unreasonable sum to try and buy the win. And it worked because I lost by 0.8 points because I didn't have a quarterback. So
that person told me that strategy. Sometimes the offense is playing good defense.
Yeah. And
exactly.
So I told David, now I'm also waiting on a stat correction, hopefully.
There you go. We're going to get to our next segment here. We like to call Stuff or Fluff. So I'm going to read you guys a couple statements, and you're going to tell me if you think there's some stuff behind it or it's a bunch of fluff, same as news or noise or fact or fiction, all those fun different narratives here. So my first one for you guys is you should bench Patrick Mahomes. Andy, is this stuff or fluff?
That's fluff. That's crazy talk. Unless you have a top 5 quarterback that's on your bench. That's insane if you're thinking about benching Patrick Mahomes. I understand he's only had about 17 points per game over the last 5 weeks, which is absolutely killing you. But this more or less should just be you swallowing some medicine to never draft a quarterback in a second or third round ever again. It's just
I don't like that
unreasonable.
subtweet. I don't like that subtweet at me. I'm right here. Call me out.
This is why Eric's in last in our home league because he had the old Mahomes.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, like Andy said, I mean, he's thrown 12 interceptions this season. That's more than he's had the last 2 years combined. And obviously that year he had 12 interceptions was the year he had 50 passing touchdowns. But if you look at the interceptions, according to Pro Football Focus, 5 of them have come off drop passes, 3 of those from Tyreek Hill, which actually is number 1 amongst wide receivers in that category there. So I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, maybe it's overthinking it. Andy, if you got Taysom Hill against the Jets and Patrick Mahomes this week, there's no doubt in your mind you're playing Mahomes.
My gosh.
No, you're playing
Taysom.
Mahomes. Taysom Hill is going to get knocked out of the game. I have a bad feeling about Taysom. The kid's
I'm the biggest Taysom Hill hater, but I'm also a bigger Patrick Mahomes hater. So it's definitely time to put in Taysom Hill in that 1-for-1 situation.
Andy, what do you make of Taysom Hill's running back skills?
Oh,
He's breaking tackles.
He can get up to speed very quickly, and he weighs a considerable amount, so he's hard to tackle. But his bones are very brittle, and he probably needs to start taking a calcium supplement because he's already broken himself again since getting back in. You just can't trust this guy to stay healthy, and 4 interceptions. How long is his leash really gonna be?
Hey, Lamar had 4 interceptions too. Okay,
Lamar won an MVP.
Yeah,
that's true. All right,
Taysom Hill won MVP of the Saints in Sean Payton's eyes.
MVP of our hearts.
This next one might be a little bit more controversial. I mean, we might get split on this. Tyler Lockett, greater than sign. DK Metcalf, rest of the season. Andy, what do you think?
Now, that one's tough because Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson have a really great chemistry that is frustrating because he isn't as talented as a wide receiver and definitely not as talented as an athlete. His change of direction is obviously better, but DK is just such a big, tough matchup and a great red zone threat. But you can tell by DK's body language on the sideline at the end of routes, he's very frustrated with not getting the ball, and he's very frustrated with being open and not getting the ball. And for whatever reason, the Seahawks offense has just been out of sync since Russell broke his finger. So if you have both of them, it's tough. It's a coin flip because I think that it's just going to be one of those situations where whichever one you start, you're going to give the juju to the other one to get a better score.
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating. If we kind of look how it was last year compared to this year, Lockett was a top 20 wide receiver 5 times last year, while DK Metcalf finished as a top 20 wide receiver in half of the games last year. So you thought DK Metcalf was the more consistent player. Tyler Lockett was the one that was going to be the wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 weeks of the year, but then not be as consistent. This year, Metcalf's only had 4 games as a top 20 wide receiver, and Lockett's had 3. So not either of them haven't been great. And Lockett's actually ranked in the top 26 wide receivers 2 of the last 3 weeks since Russell Wilson returned, entering week 13. And DK Metcalf has finished anywhere from wide receiver 55 to wide receiver 92. So it's been very confusing,
Don't really
very tough.
think about 92 wide receivers.
That's what I'm saying.
if you think so, I looked at the stats since Russell Wilson came back. DK Metcalf has out targeted Lockett 28 to 26. DK Metcalf stats though: 13 catches for 130 yards, and Lockett has 16 for 304. Now, there's a rumor that Russell Wilson is not happy with DK Metcalf's off the field antics, and if you haven't heard about it, then you got to look it up. But
what does he care about that, though?
I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't
Is it
either.
Not safe to say.
Does this seem
Well, no,
like an
I mean, Brad,
off-air
you have to know the
conversation?
story.
So, Russell Wilson, man of God, very big into religion, monogamy.
Sure.
And DK Metcalf wanted to have
I think is it polygamy?
It is a party.
with
Yeah, party.
3 other women. And
he wanted to have a meet and greet and a speed dating session.
With at least 3 other women. And apparently Russell Wilson was not happy about that. So,
and the way that story came to light was a 4th girl that he invited over who started the 5-hour drive to his house. He texted halfway there and said, actually, never mind, go home.
Oh, no.
And
like he's not focused on football
because of the blue hair.
Well, no, it's blonde now.
I know it was blue at the time. It'll probably be pink next week.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Russell Wilson was mad about that. I did obviously know the DK Metcalf.
I don't know if the reports came out as mad, but near friction and things with the Seahawks are falling apart. So,
well, the frustrating thing from a fantasy perspective is they had the same amount of targets last week. They both had 8. Tyler Lockett just came down with 2 more of those catches, and he only had 8 more yards, but he got the touchdown. So the extra 2 catches, the 8 extra yards, and the touchdown make him such a more valuable fantasy piece. And 5 catches for 60 yards isn't that hard to find on the waiver wire. So it's the difference between an absolutely pedestrian game and a very good game from a fantasy wide receiver perspective. But you can't point and be like, "Oh, DK is not getting the targets," because he is.
I haven't looked at the stats of this, but I wonder if it's kind of a Baker Mayfield OBJ situation where it's like Russ needs a guy to run very precise routes, and that's why he has such a great rapport with Lockett because he's a great route runner. And DK Metcalf coming out of college was known as just a go route guy, and he's kind of turned into somebody that is getting all these targets and running all the different route trees. But I can't like actually quantify that because I haven't looked at the stats, but it makes it interesting.
It wasn't an issue last year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean, regardless, I think the main point here is either way, you're probably not super pumped about playing either one of these guys down the stretch just because they're so unpredictable right now. Obviously, Seattle has no run game whatsoever, so at least they're going to probably throw a lot. But I think if I'm not mistaken, Seattle is last in the league in terms of time of possession. So also, it's not like they have the ball a ton for them to score a bunch of fantasy points either. So there's that going against them.
That's a good point.
Let's go to one here we're going to talk about. And I know this one might get a little bit more traction here. Antonio Gibson, a top 10 running back rest of season. Andy,
let's go to Andy first.
Stuff or fluff?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's definitely going to be a top 10 because then I'm going to win a boatload of money. So, I'm hoping that he is. I think it's interesting because real sharks in fantasy can trade for the person that they know is going to be a good player in week 3 or 4, who luckily started off cold. The problem with Antonio Gibson is he started the first 10 weeks cold. And he had such a laundry list of injuries that you were like, all right, what the hell is going on here? And, they're all nagging injuries. They're all, are you hurt or are you injured injuries? And also the team wasn't playing very well. So, it was just kind of this confluence of everything. If he is getting healthy and he is showing that he can be out of the doghouse and perform when he's on the stage, he's going to be an amazing player for fantasy. And if you look 2 weeks ago, McKissick stole 2 red zone touchdowns from him. If he had one of those, then he is absolutely electric. So as he gets better, and his target share is 9% right now, but his targets are way up over the last couple of weeks. Like, this guy is a very good player.
And he cost me. I'm very familiar with that week because I had $100 on an anytime touchdown on him that game.
I think you spent 10 minutes telling this story last week.
Yeah, I had $100 to win 125. I had him as my captain in my DK lineup, and if he scores those 2 touchdowns, I actually probably make a few grand on that too.
David quits his job teaching.
David, I need you to send me a detailed list of your anytime touchdowns every week so that I can run in the opposite direction of them.
Contrarian indicator.
I hit Mike Evans. I hit that because it was going into Monday Night Football. He had scored every single week.
All right. Story time's over.
Yeah.
We also heard this story for about 10 minutes.
My anytime touchdowns are usually pretty money when I do bet them.
Anytime touchdowns, you're 1 for 2. How are they guaranteed money?
50% is pretty. I'll do more of them, so I'll have more track record.
It's a break-even analysis, David.
Okay. Let's go to we'll say this on Antonio Gibson before we move on. He's had 95 carries over the last 4 weeks, which is more than weeks 2 through 8 combined when he had 91 carries. The 23.75 attempts per game ranked number 1 in the league over that time. And Gibson's targets over the last 2 weeks, which is 13, is more than the last 6 weeks combined prior. So he's getting that work, that volume. If he's getting anywhere near that down the stretch, I mean, it's the formula to win games right now.
Also, his next 4 games, Dallas, Philadelphia. Dallas, Philadelphia. He is playing against teams that allow a ton of yards.
Is that really their schedule?
It is.
Yeah, isn't that a brutal schedule?
Well, that
That's
is
ridiculous.
unbelievable.
Well, they could control their own destiny and win the division with that schedule.
Well,
but
yeah, because I didn't realize they still have 4 more games against 2 teams.
the only
Yeah.
thing I'll
Yeah, and
say,
it's 2 teams that give up a ton of yards, and then it ends against the Giants, which doesn't matter for fantasy, but is interesting for the NFL.
that's true. But the only thing I'll say about Gibson's rest of the season value is that last week they didn't have J.D. McKissick because of the concussion, and he will be back eventually. And I don't think it's a doghouse situation. I think they genuinely respect J.D. McKissick's skills as a pass catcher, and he's really had some improvements running in between the tackles as a runner as well. So he's getting legitimate timeshare value there. So that's what scares me away from Gibson being a top 10 rest of the season, because McKissick is a legitimate part of their offense. So I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but he is something to be wary of.
And your favorite guy, Jarrett Patterson, is there too.
I thought he was going to get a bunch of minutes, a bunch of snaps this past week, and he didn't.
Bunch of minutes.
This
This isn't basketball.
But
bunch of at bats.
yeah, yeah. But they even let like Wendell Smallwood get some snaps there. So I don't know what's going on with Patterson. Maybe they're not too confident on him because he's a rookie, or maybe he's just not that good. I don't know. But it was interesting to see that it's pretty much Gibson and McKissick or bust.
Yeah. Let's do one more here. Tua Tagovailoa is a potential QB1. So we'll say that's a top 12 quarterback. Rest of season, he's looked great over these last few weeks here. If you actually look, he actually has had a 100 or more passer rating each of the last 4 games. Last game, 30 of 41 for 244 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's accumulated 6 touchdowns over those last 4 games with 1 interception. Big reason why the Dolphins are now back in the playoff picture somewhat right now. So, Andy, can Tua get to that back end of QB1 territory for the rest of the fantasy season?
No, I'm probably not starting him this week. I can guarantee he'll be out of the top 20 this week.
I think he has a bye this week.
They have a bye week this week for anybody who's. But after that, Tua has my biggest fantasy recommendation that there is. If your starter is playing against the New York Jets, you just close your eyes and start him. And I know I said not to do that with Taysom Hill, but that's because you're trying to start him against Patrick Mahomes. If your starter is a top 40 player and is playing against the Jets or the Texans, then you won the lottery that week. And Tua comes back week 15, the first week of the playoffs, and plays the Jets. I think that's a pretty good start. It gets a little dicier when he goes against New Orleans, Tennessee, and New England the next 3 weeks. And I think that those 3 games are going to knock him out of that contention of being a top 12 QB for me. But I do think you can sneak 1 game out of him if you pick him up and start him, as long as you don't have a consistent top 5, top 7 quarterback on your roster.
Yeah. I mean, he's really coming into his own, and he seems to have a lot more confidence now that the trade deadline's passed and the Dolphins
I just want all the Dolphins fans to stop trying to get rid of this guy.
Yeah,
I mean, the timeline. I don't get it because
I don't know what they want.
You have a lot of analysts who are like, "What's Tua's elite trait? What's the only thing he is elite at is accuracy?" And all I can think is, God, people said that about Drew Brees too. Exactly. Accuracy is the most important thing for a quarterback.
God forbid my quarterback puts it where he wants to.
And on top of that, like, it took Drew Brees like 2 years, 3 years to develop into the Drew Brees he is today. Like, give the dude time. He's officially like 1 year, or officially still a rookie almost. I don't even think he's had 16 games. Like, I'm really impressed with Tua, and it boggles my mind that we were hearing rumors that the Dolphins wanted to trade for Deshaun Watson and all the baggage that he has when they have Tua, who's actually performed very well when given the chance.
And is still healing from a shattered hip.
I think that's the thing is you can't think of a worse way to handle a top 5 draft pick quarterback than the way the Dolphins have. They thrust him into the starting role when the rest of the team was winning and didn't want him. They forced him to start as a rookie, and I think people have been kind of washed by expecting your rookie quarterback to have great years because of what other rookie quarterbacks have done, when that's not the norm. It's very tough for it's tough for a first-year quarterback on a new team who's already a good quarterback, and that's a proven NFL quarterback to go to a new team and get all new weapons. And it was a COVID year, so they didn't even have a real OTA session. They didn't have real training camp. And then this year, and he was recovering from that hip last year. So he was going through all that. And people were like, oh, well, he didn't break any records. I think we got to go trade for Deshaun Watson. And then this year,
Also, I was going to say, shout out Jalen Waddle. Like that's a connection that they really have found to be fruitful at. They're kind of using him in that Landry role where they're just like, okay, let's get him in space. Let's get him targets and let the yak pile up.
Yeah, and I think it was smart that they drafted Waddle because Tua and Waddle had played together at Alabama, so they already had that chemistry together. But this year, he was hurt again, which I know gets frustrating. And what I've heard out of Miami is Tua is the kind of guy who plays football because it's a good time, and he's good at it. But he's not Tom Brady, where if he has a bad pass, he's going to get frustrated. If Tua has a bad pass, whatever, we'll get him the next time.
Right.
He gets out to practice when he feels like it. He's not doing the extra work he does. He's not psychotic. He realizes that, this is a sport and a game and not life, which is great if you're his friend or he's a family member. But if he's your NFL quarterback that's getting paid $20 million a year, you can't have that. And I think that that's where the coaching staff got frustrated. It's a coaching staff that had worked with Tom Brady for 20 years and then moved down to Miami, drafted this kid 5th overall, see Justin Herbert playing excellent, and Justin Herbert is completely committed to the game, and then maybe have Tua missing meetings, Tua getting there late, Tua not really being a vocal leader, Tua being more, excited to talk about video games. And all of a sudden the coaching staff is like, our jobs are going to rest on whether or not you are an awesome quarterback. And you kind of need to be an awesome quarterback in a lot more than just on the field. Like, you need to be off the field too. And that's where I think that there was friction, because Tua was like, I don't care about the off the field stuff. You drafted me to play quarterback. You didn't draft me to babysit these guys.
That's really interesting to hear from, a Nick Saban guy. Like, I would have thought he would have been all about the punctuality, all about the putting in time, before and after. To hear that he's kind of treating this as a normal job as opposed to, something that is your entire life and just envelops every part of your being. I'm almost more impressed by him now that he's got an even higher ceiling, because there's more potential to tap there. So that's interesting.
Yeah. The reality is he's just a he's a top 5 draft pick for a reason. He's a very, very good football player. And Alabama's program, like, when you're down there, you kind of can't get out of it. It's not like you can just leave the building whenever you want to. Like, you're scheduled to be in the building from 8 a.m. until 9 o'clock at night. And they moved Tua's entire family there. They had a house for Tua's family there. Like, they were all there. They catered very well to Tua's family while he was there. So, he was in the program, and they did a lot to keep him in the program. But now he's in Miami, and his brother's in Maryland, and, his family's back and forth. He's just living his life now.
It sounds like a recruiting violation, by the way.
I know. I was going to say, how did that? They gave him a what?
We certainly can't do that kind of stuff here, so.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna probably title this instead the Tua Tagovailoa podcast, because this is.
I don't think we will. We're probably gonna delete that so we don't get anybody in trouble.
All right. Well, let's move. We're gonna skip the bold predictions, and we're gonna move.
Mine was the Bills are gonna miss the playoffs.
Well, there we go.
That's when David says he's gonna skip a segment, and then I just yell into it.
Mine was gonna be Antonio Brown doesn't play again this season.
Who doesn't?
That was going to be my question of the week. That's a great segue, David. Our question of the week is: do the Bucs actually mess around and cut Antonio Brown?
Wait, so let's
were you gonna say, Andy?
Can we actually have some order here for a second?
Oh, all right, my bad.
Let's hit the reset button here. Our question of the week is not next, because we have our obscure tight end touchdown of the week, and so
why would you throw away such a good segue?
Because I ruin things around here. You know how I do. Okay. Our obscure tight end touchdown of the week is: which tight end rostered in 50% or less of ESPN leagues do you think scores a touchdown? We do ESPN because that's probably one of the more generic ones out there, where more casual fantasy players, that's where most of them play for the most part. So I'm going to go to you first, Doc. I want to hear because you have 0. You've gotten one wrong every single week we've done this. So I need to know who not to pick up.
The worst was week 3, Zach Ertz has his called back. Because I feel like that's what derailed me, just like the stat correction against John. That's just where everything went south. But Ricky Seals-Jones, Logan Thomas is out.
No,
I don't think even
that's
is he playing
mine.
this week?
We're in this together.
We talk about the Peoples Jones. He's the Seals-Jones.
Seals-Jones.
He's the Seals-Jones, and he's getting on the board this week.
Is he even healthy? I think he has a
doing
hip.
it together.
He has a hip problem, doesn't he?
He's coming back.
From what I read, he was playing, but
Okay.
let me look at if there's any new updates and then come back to me.
All right, Brad, who's your pick?
I'm going Evan Ingram. He's sub 30% owned on ESPN. He's got 5 and 6 targets in the last 2 games. Daniel Jones is likely out. Mike Glennon's going to look to him as a safety valve. They're against the Chargers, who, while they're not, scrub of a defense, you can get into a shootout with them. And I anticipate that they're going to need to get into a shootout with them because the running game is not going to be there with Saquon Barkley lately. So I'm going to go with Evan Ingram as my safe play.
Evan Ingram. I don't know if Evan Ingram and safe cannot be put together.
Was it last week or a couple weeks ago where he was the popular pick and then he ended up getting 47 yards total?
I think
but But he also had a touchdown, or he was targeted in the end zone and they held him. So they called a penalty and spotted at the 1.
We should find a way to get some points for pass interference yards.
You should, honestly, but the easy answer, which is Philadelphia, is on a bye this week. So usually you just start your tight ends against Philadelphia. That is not open this week, which won me last week with Ryan Griffin. Andy, who's your pick?
I was actually also going to say Evan Ingram. For a lot of the reasons that were already said. I think that the Chargers, are the worst defense against tight ends, but this is one of those hills that I'm willing to die on where you cannot trust when you hear somebody on the radio say how many points they give up to tight ends, because it's usually more of a factor of who do they play on the schedule, because there's only 10 good tight ends in the NFL. And let me pull up the Chargers schedule. The Chargers have
While you do that, I'll give mine because he plays for the Chargers. Because the Seals-Jones, if he's inactive, I have to get another one on here. Donald Parham Jr. season.
It's Parham. Just so you know. Okay, Andy, who's the Chargers schedule?
So the Chargers schedule started with Logan Thomas when he was healthy, then Dalton Schultz, then Travis Kelce, then Darren Waller, then Cleveland when both Austin Hooper and Njoku went off in that huge scoring 47-42 game. Then Baltimore, Mark Andrews, then New England with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, then Philadelphia with Goddard, then Minnesota with Conklin, then Pittsburgh with Freiermuth, and that was when they were the number 1 defense against tight ends. And it's like, yeah, because they played every single good tight end in the NFL. Of course the Chargers are going to be bad against the tight end. They have to play Travis Kelce and Darren Waller twice a year. Like, give me any other division where the tight ends are crappy and, all of a sudden it's like, oh, weird, they don't give up many points to tight ends. Well, yeah, they don't have to play them.
So wait, so who's your
pick? Great point.
Oh, yes, Evan Ingram. That's right, Evan Ingram.
Yes.
Okay. So we got 2 Evan Ingrams. We've got 2 Ricky Seals-Jones.
I'm removing Eric from the Seals-Jones pick. If he doesn't have the gumption to stick to it, then he doesn't deserve to.
Sean, I need to get on the board. I need to have a backup play if he's inactive.
I was gonna say you're gonna name half the tight ends so you can get on the board.
It's okay. He won't score a touchdown anyway.
All right. Well,
Ricky Seals-Jones, if active. If inactive, Donald Parham.
Okay. My pick is the guy that goes by the name Tyler Conklin. All right. And why I like Tyler Conklin this week, he had 9 targets.
I'm sorry. What was that sound effect?
It's a bonk sound, like conk.
What is that? Okay, conk.
Like you conk someone on the head.
Okay, all right, I got you.
All right. So he had 9 targets last week when Adam Thielen departed. And if you look at PFF as far as snap counts, he actually played the most snaps of anybody on the offense that was actually catching the ball last week. He played 72 snaps, which is more than KJ Osborne, more than Justin Jefferson. If we look at actual passing snaps he played in passing routes, he still played a very high amount, as he was actually 37. That only trailed Justin Jefferson's 46 and Osborne's 44. So he's involved in a lot of the pass routes, and he's getting seen obviously a 15+% target share. he's going to get that bump with Adam Thielen out of there. I know the Steelers have only given up 2 touchdowns to tight ends this year, but just like Andy said, it kind of depends on who you play at that position. So I think Tyler Conklin, with the volume he's going to get, I think he's actually a very good play this week. And on ESPN, I believe he is 34% owned. So very good get.
That's a great pick and a shameless plug. I also have Tyler Conklin as a waiver wire pickup on my Fantrax HQ article. Go check that out.
There we go. I like it. All right. Let's go to our second to last segment here, and that's going to be the question of the week, which we know already.
It's kind of lost its magic because you ruined the segue.
I'm sorry, but
yeah,
John, we're sponsored by something. You want me to read my sponsor? You're eager. I like it. I like the energy. But we are sponsored, of course, by Monkey Knife Fight, as you see on the bottom, and we are official affiliate to Monkey Knife Fight, the fastest growing sports betting site in the United States. New depositors receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using promo code Triple Play. All right, John, what is the question of the week?
So I feel like when Antonio Brown first got hurt, it was like a week-to-week thing, and now he's going to miss literally, it seems like almost the rest of the season, including his suspension. Are they going to cut him? When he was signed, Bruce Arians said he gets one. He gets one, and then he's gone.
I think Tom Brady's running the show there in terms of personnel. I think if they were going to cut him, he would have already been cut. I agree. Like Arians did say, he gets one mess up, and this is probably it. But I think Tom Brady, I think Tom Brady really likes having depth at the receiver position, and at the tight end position, and he likes having guys he can trust to run precise routes, and maybe he's that guy. And it looks like he accepted that suspension and didn't appeal it, according to his lawyer, not because he didn't do it, but because he's injured and he didn't want to deal with the headache.
But because it's a federal crime and he doesn't want to rock the boat too much.
You want to know what the dumbest part of that is?
What's up?
What's that?
He comes to training camp with the fake certificate that he got vaccinated, and then Brady peer pressured him into getting vaccinated anyway, and he got vaccinated while he was in training camp.
Exactly. So that's what his lawyer says. Like, he is vaccinated.
He's getting punished for just being dumb 2 weeks early. I agree, though. I don't think he's getting cut because he did get the one strike policy before he helped them win a Super Bowl, and I think you get a couple more strikes after you do that for a team. And
here's my thing. I didn't mean to.
That's a good question, though, Johnny.
I don't think he gets cut, but I think he's inactive. Like, I think they activate him if there's an injury to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. Think about it. Their offense, like, it couldn't be much better with him right now.
Yeah,
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin
was better with him.
Yeah, it was.
Rob Gronkowski, though, has been doing well. He's been throwing the ball a lot to Fournette. Like, I don't think they need
when
him.
AB was playing, he was their best receiver.
He was their best receiver, but doesn't mean that they weren't. They almost lost week 1 to the Cowboys. Like, their offense.
I just wonder, because a lot of Antonio Brown stuff was kept in-house in the Steelers, and I wonder if this nagging injury, this lingering injury, is just because there's something behind the scenes that we don't know yet.
Well,
that's just my 2 cents.
The ankle injury was supposed to be between 4 to 6 weeks when he first got it. That's what most of the sports doctors said. And this guy is in his mid-30s now, so you have to think it's going to be closer to the end of what they say when it comes to an injury as opposed to him coming back early. I think that the reality is, one, you can't guarantee that Godwin, Evans, and Gronk are all going to be healthy for the next 3 games, and then the 3 games that they're going to play in the playoffs, which are the ones that actually matter. And I think that Brady wants to be able to, one, play matchups. He's always been a matchup thrower. He's never been the guy who, he threw to Randy Moss one season. Other than that, he has been a matchup distributor of the football. And I think that, he would much rather throw it where the matchup is and use Gronk as little as possible for the next 4 games, and then only use him when they need him to score in the playoffs, because Brady's had to go to the playoffs with an injured Rob Gronkowski on the IR before, and he doesn't want to have that happen now.
Yeah. And again, I'll be interested to see right now AB's when he returns from his suspension. Will be back, I believe, week 16. So maybe the Bucs slowly integrate him in and then basically save him for the playoffs for full speed. But we're going to have to see how that plays out. We're going to close out the show with the game of the week here. And Johnny, you got the game, and the fans know what you're playing. So let's do it.
NFL coaches are modern day philosophers. So I have 5 assorted quotes from an NFL head coach or a philosopher. And so pretty much what you have to do is you take a guess, coach or philosopher, you get an extra point if you get the coach and or philosopher correct. So you get 2 points possible. We'll just sort of go around the board. We'll start with
Andy's
David
got the
on
upper
the
hand
first
right
one.
here.
We're going to start on the first one. Will be
How many we got?
5.
Just 5. If you get too caught up in what happened in the past, you'll miss an opportunity in the future. Think too much about what's too far ahead, you miss the opportunity that's in front of you. We'll start with you, David.
That's definitely a coach. I'm gonna say it's Mike Tomlin.
Brad.
I'm gonna go Coach Parcells.
Doc.
Go Coach Vince Lombardi.
Andy.
I'll go philosopher, and it's the turtle from Kung Fu Panda.
That is Bill Belichick, and he actually said that a couple weeks ago. I saw an interviewer tweet it, and I put that in my bookmarks to save for the game later.
Yeah,
Look at you,
that's
taking
smart.
notes. But
Yeah,
I thought about doing it, but I was like, damn, that's too many words for him. He doesn't usually say
Yeah.
that much.
I know.
That is
I almost gave it away. I almost tried to impersonate him going through. If you focus too much on the future, you're gonna miss what's in front of you.
That's
But
actually pretty
the
good,
next
Johnny.
the next one is if they spit at you behind your back, it means you're ahead of them. Brad.
I'm gonna go philosopher Sun Tzu.
Doc.
I mean Lao Tzu.
But you're using the loud
Sun Tzu
one
is the
earlier.
war.
Philosopher.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Coach Mike Ditka.
I'll go
Andy.
Coach Sean Payton.
David.
Philosopher Aristotle.
That is philosopher Confucius.
Oh,
So it confused a few of you.
No.
The next one is knowledge is a treasure, but practice is the key to it. Doc.
I'm gonna go. I feel like you're saying practice to throw us off. So I'm gonna go
You
philosopher.
can't get too mind gamey here.
I'm going philosopher, and this is the Lao Tzu one.
I'm going
Andy.
Coach Lombardi.
I'll go philosopher. No idea.
Andy, I will tell you, I didn't know many philosophers, and then when John does this game once a month, I've learned like 20 of them. All right, I'll go philosopher Socrates.
Eric with his mind games wins. This is Lao Tzu quote.
Wow.
This is a Lao Tzu quote.
Yes.
Unbelievable. The second to last, the penultimate is confidence is a fragile thing. We'll start with Andy.
I'll guess Mike Tomlin said that one.
David.
I'm gonna go coach, and I'm gonna go Bill Parcells.
Brad.
I was gonna say Coach Tomlin as well.
That's what I was gonna say.
If it's Coach Tomlin, you
Wow. Everybody's really close. It's Coach Bill Cower. So, David, you had the first
Okay.
name right, and everybody else had the right team.
Oh. Wait, so I have 4. What do you
have
guys
Yeah,
think?
everybody announce your score for the final question. Brad, I know you don't keep score.
I have 2, I think.
I got
5.
4.
Oh wow.
I know
No,
he
he doesn't.
doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Andy from the top rope.
Hey, you
All right,
always win
so-
when you lie.
That's going in our coach or philosopher
Yeah.
queue for next month.
Yeah, just be like, this is,
Director of Player Development.
Coach
Yeah.
Andy. Yeah, there we go. All right.
The last one is there's only one way to avoid criticism: do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. And we'll start with David.
I'm gonna say this is a coach, and I'm gonna say it is Mike Holmgren.
Brad.
This is a tough one. I'm gonna go coach. And I'm going to say Jimmy Johnson.
David, for the sake of the show, I'm going the opposite. I was going to let you control your destiny. I'm going philosopher and Plato.
I think that this sounds like a coach, and I'm going Ditka.
I was going to say, can Andy go perfect 6 out of 5? But this is a philosopher, Aristotle.
No!
David does not get his win
Oh
yet.
my God. What a joke.
Yeah!
I want to recount.
Wait. Do you guys remember the Howard Dean campaign? Wait, David, you can do my one-person sound first.
Oh, here you go.
Yay!
You remember Howard Dean's campaign in 2004?
I do.
Where we're gonna take this state, we're gonna take that state. Yeah! That's my sign off right here, boys.
I only remember it because of Chappelle's show.
reference.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to be salty somewhere else. Andy, appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Ton of fun having you on with us.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, can you, for those that do not know the stuff you're doing or everything you put out there, can you give our audience a plug? Can you tell them where they can find you on Twitter, the work you put out, all the stuff that you do?
Yeah, so go to the 33rdteam.com. You can see all the work that I've been doing. It's a company that I started with Mike Tannenbaum. We work with over 500 years of NFL experience. We try to bring the highest level of football knowledge to the space. And if you're looking for fantasy-specific content, you can always follow me at AndyFantasy1. And you can hear me on Sirius XM, 5 o'clock on Thursdays on Sirius 87, the fantasy channel. And if you found me on this show, please don't follow my assistant DPP account on Twitter. Appreciate it.
I love it. It was like it's like you have, I think the kids call it the Finstas and the regular Instagrams, like where it's like their fake Insta. And it's so it's like your real Twitter account and your business Twitter account, whatever it is, but it's funny that you have two of them. I think it's very cool. Yeah, 33rd Team is awesome. And I'm not biased saying that. Please make sure you check out 33rd Team. It's absolutely, just like Andy said, it's where you need to go for any type of football content, whether it's fantasy, real life football, coaching, any type of schemes you want to talk about. It's got everything. So make sure you check out the 33rd Team, and also make sure you check out Andy and I debate every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, because I'm going to make sure that I win one of these bets one of these days. The third time is the charm. Promise.
We'll
that.
see.
Okay.
I'll just find another picture of me to put on your Twitter for a week.
Seems like you're faring just as well in that as your philosopher quotes, Davey.
Yeah, it's not too good so far. But next week, we're going to be joined by another great guest to break down Week 14. But until then, everyone, be safe out there. Enjoy your 7 weeks of commercial-free football. And we're going to make like a bread truck, and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys